and record tonight's hearing. In case anybody has any objections, they can leave the hearing at this time. We will be recorded. Again, today is November 17th, 2020. It's 5:00 p.m. And this is the Nahant Zoning Board of Appeals. And first thing I'm going to do is to call this meeting to order, which I am doing right now. And the second thing is I'd like to introduce the board members. We have David Walsh here, and we have Peter Barber, Max Casper, and David McCool, and myself, Jocelyn Campbell. And so the next thing we have to do is discuss or explain to you that we have to read the notice for tonight's meeting into the record. And I would like to also read a short blurb about the governor's order concerning remote technology for tonight's meeting. Essentially, the public hearing is being held tonight via remote technology pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of persons that may gather in one place. Therefore, this meeting of the Nahant Zoning Board of Appeals will be conducted via remote participation, and that's what we're doing tonight. And so we have posted the meeting notice and we have published it in the item on November 3rd and November 10th. And so tonight we have before us a petition filed by Brett Henry as a tenant for the property located at 143-145 Nahant Road, Nahant, Mass, owned by Stephen Viviano for a special permit. The ad further reads, the building inspector has denied a building permit stating that the proposed restaurant fast order food establishment requires a special permit use according to section 4.13 of the zoning bylaws of the town of Nahant, table of use regulations. So the next thing I need to read into the record quickly is a letter we received from the Nahant Planning Board dated November 9th, 2020. Addressed to myself as chair of the zoning board regarding 143 Nahant Road, application for special permit to install takeout window. Dear Ms. Campbell, this letter shares the planning board's comments in the above captioned special permit denial. I don't know why there's been no denial, so I don't know why that's about it. Which is on appeal to the zoning board of appeals and set for a hearing next week. Oh, I see. He was referring to the building inspector's denial. We are very sympathetic as to the needs of the business in Nahant to deal with the challenges of COVID-19 and to keep their businesses operating. However, given the planning board's responsibilities over zoning rules, we have comments on several aspects detailed below. One, the filing is incomplete. The applicant has not provided a certified plot plan for 143 Nahant Road. The plan submitted by the applicant is a plan for subdivision of 141 Nahant Road and gives no square footage or information for the commercial building located at 143 of the 143-145 lot. The plans are over 20 years old. The architectural plans submitted by the applicant are not architectural plans. They are computer-generated sketch and do not contain the information regarding square footage for the commercial building. Without accurate information as to square footage, it is unclear whether the application belongs before the ZBA or the planning board. As we indicated, incomplete applications should be returned to the applicant rather than acted upon. Two, the filing was signed by a direct abutter, Mr. Wilson, in his capacity as building inspector, and included no disclosure to that effect by Mr. Wilson. This raises concerns pertaining to conflict of interest law. Three, the documents provided in this filing are duplicative to Mr. Henry's January filing, in which parking became a concern but was never addressed. The approved use of 143 building requires sufficient off-street parking for staff and delivery vehicles, yet there isn't enough space on the 143-145 lot to accommodate parking for both 143 and 145 as currently permitted. Moreover, Mr. Henry's use of 143 Nahant Road as a takeout retail food establishment required additional parking for customer orders and pickup. This already has had a significant impact on traffic and parking in the Irish Town neighborhood. Mr. Henry's permit application provided no information about parking to accommodate the employees or customers. 4, should a catering business be allowed to have a takeout window? Question mark. The zoning laws do not define catering businesses, but do discuss drive-up windows and fast order food service establishments. The takeout window is not an accessory use for a catering company. It appears the Nahant zoning bylaws indicate this sort of business is banned throughout Nahant. As a broader issue, apart from Mr. Henry's specific application, we feel the ZBA should address that question. We are not taking a position at this time as to whether or not the ZBA should approve a takeout window under the extant circumstances. Respectfully, the Nahant Planning Board, Calvin B. Hastings, Chair. So that being said, a couple of things I just want to point out real quickly. One of them is that as far as the filing being incomplete, the board can discuss it if they like, but the rules for these Nahant zoning board do not require a certified plot plan for a use application, nor do we require an architectural plan. We require a plan to show us the square footage. Further, he goes on to say, this letter goes on to say from Mr. Hastings that regarding this building inspector's conflict of interest, that's really something personal to Mr. Wilson. I don't really have any concern over that, especially where Mr. Wilson is the one who denied him the permit. And 3, as far as parking being addressed, we did address parking in the application regarding the catering, so that's not exactly accurate. So anyway, well, if anybody wants to address that, we can during the hearing. At this point in time, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have the petitioner present their case. And I should tell everyone ahead of time that I asked Kim Campo, once I received that letter, to make sure that Mr. Henry was aware of it, give him a copy, and asked him to please provide to us an updated plan with the square footage of his space and as well as information about parking. Mr. Henry, would you like to have a go? Do you have something to say?
Sure. So from what I thought, when I actually met with you guys several months ago, I did give a plot plan, and you guys should have the square footage already on file. If I'm paying taxes on the property, you should know what the square footage is on the property. I'd be happy to provide it again, but I feel like I'm doing it 2 or 3 times in a row because we already discussed parking at the first meeting. The 4 parking spaces behind the lot that Mr. Viviano owns at 145 Nahant Road. So myself and my employees
have to be complete for this particular application.
I'm sorry?
This has to be a complete and separate application. This is not nothing to do with the other application that you filed. You need to give us a plan that shows the square footage. If you can talk about it during the hearing, but if you don't have one, we can talk about how you can get one.
Okay.
Just go on. It's not up to us to go hunting those things down. You need to put the information to us, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's go on.
All right. I'm sorry. So what's the next question? I'm out of time here.
Why don't you present your case?
So my case is I opened the facility as a with a catering permit to open it for catering, and with the whole pandemic, we lost all our business as far as weddings and pretty much everything. We lost 18 weddings this year. We lost most of our business. There's no catering, as you know. There's no gatherings. There's no baby showers. There's no bridal showers. There's no pretty much any catering event is canceled. If you look at any place, all the restaurants are going out of business, and so we opened up a takeout window on the side. We're selling food out the window. We're putting specials out there. People coming up and picking them out the side window, which was an existing window that's always been there. We didn't install that window. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I'd like to be able to sell food out the window. And that's what I've been doing. It's not a fast food establishment. People are calling orders in and they're pre-ordering stuff and they're picking up at the window. We're trying to comply with all COVID laws, so they're not coming in the building. I could have them come in the building and pick it up if I wanted to. But we're trying to avoid that.
Okay. And so what, at this point in time, if that is your petition, do the board members have any questions for Mr. Henry?
A couple of issues. Let me just so this, you have a catering establishment which is allowed for a special permit under the zoning bylaws in a B1 zone. And
Yes.
okay, now, so the way I see this is you have a consumer service establishment. And under a consumer service establishment, under the B1 zoning, then we have the ability to grant a special permit for a not just catering, but for the selling of food. Now, there are a couple of issues came up about parking for, for customers. There are two other establishments down in that same area. Well, one that's been there for many, many years, I call it Captain's. I don't even know what it's called now, but it's been there for 20 some odd years. That place has not ever had parking for customers. When we had the fish store, once again, we never required parking for customers. It was always on-street parking because people are not there for any period of time other than to stop.
Can I ask you to hold off on that for a second, that thought for a second? I want to,
Sure.
I do think we need to talk about those issues in terms of, and have a deliberation. But at first I want to get past the section where we have to ask everybody if they have any questions for Mr. Henry. And then we can talk about those.
Oh, I see. All right. Sorry to jump the gun.
It's okay, no,
right.
no, it's a good point. We need
So-
to do that too, but does anyone have
so-
any questions on the board?
Yeah, so Mr. Henry, how many parking spaces are associated with your establishment?
We have up to 4 parking spaces for our employees behind the building.
Okay,
And then customers would use on-street parking for pickup. So we don't have any
Okay.
employees that park on street at all.
okay. And your intent to obviously sell food out of a window, that was not your intent when you opened. You came to us for I think the change of use was to open a catering company.
Correct.
And you're only doing, you're doing catering.
Due to
I
the
mean,
COVID.
you're doing
Well,
food
it wasn't
out the
my original
windows.
plan to do this,
Right.
to work 7 days a week. And, I feel like I'm providing a service for the town right now during the COVID. I wasn't planning on working 7 days a week and doing this out the window. It definitely was not my plan. And, I'm doing it now to make ends meet. I invest a lot of money into the building here and the property. And, I need to pay my bills and make my money back on what I did and go from there.
Okay.
Otherwise I can just lock the doors and call it a day. I got a pretty big investment here. And, they said when things were going well, we had 18 weddings that canceled this year. And
And Dave McCool, did you have a question? You look like you were going to ask a question.
Yeah, I have a question, Mr. Henry. So is there a way to just alert people in advance that when they place their order, to try to stick to the time that you give them, 15 minutes, 30 minutes for, if there's a way, is there a way to alert the customers so they don't show up and all show up at once and waiting around just to move the traffic along?
I don't feel like there's been any traffic backups out front. When somebody calls, we'll tell them, we give them a pretty accurate time, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, based upon how busy it is or how busy it isn't. 5 minutes. And I haven't seen any real traffic backup at all up front from my end. People come, they're at the window for 30 seconds. Most people prepay over the phone. And so when they come, they just go to the window literally and pick it up and off they go.
So how do people order? How do they know about what's on your menu? Is that all done online?
It's done online, yep. Facebook and mostly on Facebook. And
So it's
media.
possible for you to just to put out a communication on Facebook or your menu
Every
saying, pick up the, pick up at the actual time, just to let the people know not to come and, hang around for an extended period of time. Maybe there's a way you can just put something, quick blurb on your website.
Sure.
I think that would be reasonable to just let people know, we just want to move along the traffic. So there's really no need for parking. Just
Right.
very brief, just like you're going to Seaside Variety or any of those other places. I've never noticed anyone hanging around. Those places are always in and out and everything moves pretty, I've never seen any issues down at those places, even in the summer.
Right.
So I don't know. That's the way I look at it. I think it's okay there. I don't think there's any parking issue.
I don't think it's a traffic issue or a pocket issue. There hasn't been
No.
that I'm aware of anyway. So
Yeah, I don't believe there is. I've seen a lot of activity at those places in the peak of summer. And but anyway, that's if people just can be alerted to come at your scheduled time for pickup. That's all I would have to add.
Okay, I have a question for you, Mr. Henry.
sure.
And that is it possible, because I know you said you have the 3 to 4 spaces in the back of the building. and that you have less than 1,000 square feet. And the reason we ask for this information is because if you have more than 1,000 square feet of space in your location, and again, I remember last time that your plan was missing that information, but somebody provided information at the hearing. If you could just get a plan together, whether it doesn't have to be an architectural plan, even the plan you have, and get the square footage on there and just give it to Kim Campo, that would be helpful.
Sure.
As well as a plan for your parking. Just show us a sketch or something that would show us where your parking is for your employees, so that we know that, and we have a complete application. That would be helpful.
Okay, that'd be great. Season.
I mean, you understand that your representation is how many square footage inside your building?
I'm sorry.
What is the least square footage that you have, the least area?
It's 800 square feet.
800 square feet, okay. Because we have to show that we have jurisdiction over the matter in order to proceed.
Right.
Okay, so you presented your case, we've asked you some questions. Do any other members have any questions for Mr. Henry?
No,
All right.
no.
We're going to move to another area, and as we're going to ask if anyone else here would like to speak either in favor or against. But before we do that, there's something else I need to explain, and that is that I received an email today from Diane Dunphy that when she clicked on the notice for this hearing, that she got an error message. And I also got an email last Friday from Michelle Capano, whom I don't know, but I replied to her. She asked me for a copy of the hearing notice. Well, she asked Diane for it and copied me. Apparently she was getting an error notice and I didn't think much of it. But when I saw Diane's email today, the town clerk, I contacted town council, who just emailed me while everybody was talking and said that he feels as though we should continue this hearing once, because of the fact that notice may have been defective that was posted, just to be on the safe side. And so we're going to have to do that, I believe. But I think we can take this as far as we can, and then before we make any decision, we'll get a date from everybody, hopefully in the next week, and we'll post the notice for another hearing, and we'll finish up on that night.
So, Jocelyn, can you explain a little bit more about the error message? I'm not understanding.
Today, when Diane Dunphy, and apparently last Friday or the day, whatever day Ms. Capano went there as well, when they clicked on the meeting notice, they got an error message.
Okay.
And
because
so,
I clicked on it just before the meeting so that I could get the information to get on the meeting.
right. Well, apparently at some point in time, it was defective, the notice. And so what Dan Script wrote me an email while we were talking, and he said he thought we should continue our hearing.
And let me ask a question then. What is the reason that Mr. Script is giving for continuing it?
Because he said that the notice must be within 48 hours of the meeting date. And we don't know for sure when the defect happened and when it was cured. And so,
But do we know if it was I mean, that's two people. Was it a defect in possibly their computer systems versus?
No, actually, he said that we got it was not their computer system. So Michelle Capano just emailed me, texted me. No, we understand that. It seems to be that it was a problem from the webmaster. He wrote and responded and said that he had a problem changing hostings or something like that.
Okay.
I'm not the person, so I don't know. Anyway, so it's very simple. All we have to do is we can take this as far as we want. We just won't close it out completely. And then we can, so we can continue tonight. We can post it. I would suggest that we go to, within a week. And that way there, we don't have to re-advertise that. We just do the date, tonight's hearing. If everybody can give me a date and time, that'll be good for them. But why don't
Justin, can we do it right before the next hearing?
I'm sorry?
Can we do it like immediately with the next petition that we have?
And that is scheduled for,
That's scheduled too far away, I think.
it's not far away.
That would be too far away if he agrees to continue it.
Well, it's up
What's
to
the
you.
urgency? The place is open, isn't it?
Max, what'd you say? I couldn't hear you.
I said if he agrees to continue it, what is the timeline matter?
That would be fine. But if we want to do it earlier, then we would have to pick a date this sooner.
Okay.
It would give anybody an opportunity to speak who hasn't had an opportunity if they can speak at that time. So what do you want to do, guys? Do you want to have a date?
My preference would be to just do it, immediately before the Willow Road hearing in December. Like I said, the place is already there, so it's not like anyone's waiting on anything, right?
All right. What are we saying then, that we put it off for a month, but at the same time, we're allowing what we're supposed to be voting on to continue? I don't think that
We're
makes a
not
lot of
allowing
sense.
anything. It's already there.
Well, yeah, but we have to
You don't have to say
okay it.
anything.
Yeah, but we have to okay it.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's trying to save his business and,
I
a
think
delay could,
How are we delaying it? It's already, isn't it open today?
It is.
So just keep it as is, and we just hear it then.
okay, I'm good with that.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, I agree with Jocelyn. We should continue with the hearing as far as we could go. We could even, have a little bit of deliberation time, and then, we would just open open it, maybe review, see if there's any additional comments, and then vote on it.
Yeah,
It
I
should
think
be
the
pretty
public
quick.
comments, the only thing that could be argued that,
Right.
someone didn't have an opportunity to be heard or whatever
Yep.
the case may be.
Yep.
So I
Totally.
agree with you, Peter. We just move it forward, get
Yep.
it right to the very end, and then address it, any public comments, and we can vote at that next time, whenever it may be.
Right, so we won't close the hearing tonight. We'll schedule it for future time.
Okay, can I make a comment?
I would like Mr. Henry to respond only because I want to see how he feels. What's going on?
So my thing is, I was on a planning board meeting for 3.5 hours the other night, and the planning board was going back and forth, arguing about they don't
Discussing a letter that you weren't allowed to see.
discussing a letter that I wasn't allowed to even see, and they're complaining that the planning board doesn't know what the zoning, that they're not communicating well enough. And honestly, that's not my problem. So the planning board was saying, oh, the zoning board doesn't know what we're doing. We have a lack of communication. I had to listen to that for 3.5 hours and get nothing accomplished on Monday night. Okay, now I'm sitting here again. So I got to walk on eggshells for another month, knowing and let my employees know, am I going to be open next month? Are you guys going to shut me down after another month? I don't think it's really fair to keep putting this off for another month or so. I think it should be discussed and determined tonight, yay or nay, or whatever you want to do. I don't think it's fair to, I have people answer. I paid lawyers. I have lawyers involved with this whole thing right now, and I'm paying people for another month now. I don't think it's fair to me wasting my time and effort on this, to be honest with you.
Mr. Henry, okay,
Put it off for another month.
Can I just respond a little bit to that? And that is that, certainly we can continue forward if you like tonight, but let me tell you that if somebody, it would be to help you, the reason we would continue it. We haven't decided yet whether we're going to continue it 1 week or whether we're going to continue it till December. We're discussing that now. And on the advice of counsel, we are going to continue it for a period of time. Well, that was the plan. If you tell us that you don't care if somebody objects, thing is, if somebody appeals a decision we make and the meeting notice was deemed to be defective, then you would automatically lose. So we're trying to help you.
Excuse me.
Saying, if we can get another date, maybe we don't have to go a whole month. Maybe everybody can agree on.
No, I would.
It's not going to take very long. It's going to take us 10 minutes.
Jocelyn, and that was kind of my point earlier. I think I'd like to move that we continue the hearing until next week, next Tuesday, at the same time. That will give anybody an opportunity that felt they didn't get proper notice of the meeting to speak up.
I think it's a good idea. I agree. I personally, my vote would be not to go to December. That's too far away. I think we should take care of this right now.
Right.
And we need 48 hours, right?
Right.
I mean, my only comment is, I mean, if he's in operation now, if he's operating the window now under that catering permit that he had, why not let him continue to operate? Because that was the whole question, whether that covered him or not, the pre-existing use. So why don't we allow them to continue to operate, and 1 week from now, we can take it up, and I think in fairness to the applicant,
Right.
I
It's not
think,
his fault that there was a computer glitch. So I totally agree with Dave. Like, let's continue to get down the road tonight as far as the open discussion, so that I think, maybe it gives Mr. Henry a little bit more comfort knowing, where everybody stands, how everybody feels. And then we continue the hearing to meet the quote, the needs of the hearing, to meet all the requirements. And then, we continue, we have hopefully it's a quick meeting next Tuesday night, and we can decide it and be done with it.
yeah, I mean, the argument is a catering window does it fall under the same provision as catering? I mean, catering, someone can go pick up catering as well as it can be delivered. So I think for now, we allow the applicant to operate his business while we wait.
All right, Dave McCool, you gotta hang on to that thought for a second, because we're not to the deliberation yet. You have to go through 2 more steps first.
Yes. So I had made a motion to continue this 1 week.
Can we hold off on the motion and take the hearing a little bit further?
What was
Yeah,
that?
can we make the motion at the end of the hearing, so that,
That's fine.
because if we make a motion now, then we go into continuation and we don't have an opportunity to discuss tonight.
Okay. All right. Then I will withdraw that motion for the time being, and I'll make a different motion. I'll make a motion that we allow the use of I'm going to pull it up the right thing.
But David, we're not even at the point where we can make a motion yet. We haven't deliberated.
Well, how can we deliberate if I don't make a motion?
Because we
We'll just deliberate.
Yeah, but aren't we supposed to hear public comment first?
We have some public comment first.
Yes, I thought you already asked for that.
I didn't do that yet. No, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'll do it right now.
Dave, you're jumping way ahead.
Sorry, I get up at 3 o'clock this morning to go to work. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Dave.
All
All
right.
right. So,
The floor is yours, Jocelyn.
currently, we have heard the case from the petitioner, and the board is asking questions of the petitioner. And I'd like to ask if there's anyone here present who would like to speak in opposition to the application. And no one has responded to speak in opposition. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the application?
I would. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson, we can hear you. Would you please
All
state your name for the record?
In case you don't recognize the voice.
Recognize you.
All right. No, I'm here at this meeting as the neighbor to this property and not as the building inspector. I want to make that clear. And as the neighbor, I have absolutely no objection to the continued use of the takeout window.
Okay. And your name for the record is Mr. Wayne Wilson. And what is your property address?
Number 7 Spring.
7 Spring Street. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak in favor of the application?
I would.
Okay, ma'am, could you state your name and address, please?
Ann Wachtel, 1640 Steps Lane.
Okay, Ann Wachtel, W-A-C-H-T-E-L, 1640 Steps Lane.
You got it.
Okay,
I just think that particularly now, this business is so helpful to so many people in this town. There are many people who go out still to restaurants, but there are many of us who don't go near anything. And Brett Henry's opening has been a savior for so many people in this position. So I think it would be crazy to not let him to continue.
okay, thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor?
Yeah, I would like to speak. This is Stephen Viviano, the property owner.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, board. Thank you, Mrs. Chairwoman. I'd like to speak just briefly on Brett. Brett, I can assure you spoke the truth. I had a lawyer draw up a pretty lengthy lease for him that stipulated a catering window, catering business there exclusively. Brett was on the fence almost up until he opened on what exactly he was going to do. It seemed like he wasn't quite sure, but I could tell you, like the rest of the world, he was getting pretty nervous with his bills and with the work he had done there and with the future of his business. I told Brett that, you know, as a member of the town and as the landlord, you know, anything he wanted to do, just, you know, make sure you do it in accordance with the town and in the neighborhood and so on and so forth. Brett has plunged forward. He has been a great tenant. He really has gone out of his way. He's, you know, one of my big things was have appreciation and respect for the neighborhood over there. He's excellent with he has a dumpster emptied twice a week. He handles all his cleaning products and stuff. As you know, that house, the business is pretty tight to the house next door. He's been extremely wonderful with it. And also with the parking, I have approached the neighborhood businesses just to make sure that my involvement with that building, no one's irritated with it. And when Brett first opened, he had an overwhelming response to business, as you'd expect. The cars really didn't know what to do. Brett actually, I think he had his son was out there directing traffic, making sure Seaside Variety wasn't blocked, making sure, you know, everyone was just playing by the rules. And can't speak for the owner of Seaside Variety, but he told me that he was very happy with how everything transitioned and that, if anything, he was picking up some business from it. I think it's great. I you know, I love to see business in town. I think that little area is kind of all we have. And I do my part to try to make sure it can survive and strive and good people go in there, you know, with businesses that'll be good for the town. And though it wasn't the plan, I will definitely go on the record saying that I think it's been a wonderful addition. And Brett has my full blessing. And I will supply Brett quickly. For whatever reason, when you go on any permit application, when you select the property, the parcel, it auto-populates in the parcel ID and all that stuff. 143 and 145, I don't understand how, but they are looked at as one piece of property in Nahant. I am embarrassed to say this. I probably should know, but I don't know how they base the taxes. I would think they would base the taxes based upon commercial and residential space, and nowhere in the town record do they have those two selected separately. Now, if any of us went on and selected our home, you know, a single family residence, it would auto-populate the square footage. Brett's building, for whatever reason, doesn't even allow him to select the right address, as you guys see before you tonight. He's actually got a special permit in, and the address on it is 145 Nahant Road, which is actually a single family house. So hopefully the glitch in the system can be fixed and the square footage issue will be fixed. But I will supply, as I have, the plot plan for the property hasn't changed. The driveway did take a new shape. I did actually put definitive grass and crushed stone, but as Brett said, the driveway is 3 cars wide and 2 cars deep, and the woman who lives there only occupies 1 space, so Brett really has the rest of them. But he utilizes 4 of them at a maximum at a time and gives the woman her spot and a spot for a guest, so she has one. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and is there anyone else present who would like to speak in favor of the application? That being a no, then okay, we're going to move to deliberation and start discussing the application. And in the event that we do decide to continue this matter, I guess we're going to have to reopen that and take any further comment that may come at the next meeting. So what does everybody think?
I want to, I mean, I know you addressed the zoning board letter, and I also want to address it. You know, looking at the plot plan, it's got a stamp from a land surveyor. Yes, it's 20 years old, but I think if I went and grabbed my plot plan, it would probably be either that old or older. So I don't know that that makes much of a difference. I hate to say it, but I think the planning board letter to me seems pretty nitpicky. especially in this time of COVID. As Mr. Henry said, he's trying to keep his business afloat. He just sunk all this money in. He didn't know COVID was going to happen. He wanted to continue. I will say this, over the many, many years I've lived in this town and the many, many years that I volunteered at different events and functions, Brett Henry and Mount Vernon Restaurant, I think Mount Vernon Catering at the time or whatever, was always right there to help this community. And his intent was to open a catering business, and then COVID hit. And this is one way for him to like keep his business afloat. And as far as the traffic goes, I think Dave said it earlier. There's no difference in traffic. That used to be many, many years ago. There was a Chilean takeout restaurant. There was never a traffic problem. The pizza place doesn't have a traffic problem. I recall vaguely the fish store. There were 2 parking spaces with the fish store. There wasn't a parking problem with the fish store. It may seem like there's a little bit more congestion, and I think a lot of it has to do with the parking lot for Seaside Variety. But if there's 4 parking spaces in front of those 2 buildings, the residence and the catering, there's 4 parking spots, maybe 3 if they're pickup trucks. But to me, it's you go in, you pick up your food, and you go on your way. Other restaurants are dealing with COVID, and they are doing pickup at the door. Some of them haven't opened, aren't allowing seating. If you go into Lynn, I think Lynn is a red zone right now. A lot of places are doing pickup, and I think that this is, I think while COVID is happening, obviously Mr. Henry wants to get back into doing catering and not have to work 7 days a week killing himself. But, I don't see a problem with any of the issues here. I know that in Nahant, we probably don't want takeout windows, but this is a special circumstance.
Anybody else want to have any comment? Max, are you still with us?
Yes.
David, anybody else have any comment or deliberation?
No, I will concur with Mr. Barber's comments.
I will as well.
Yep, same here. I just,
Now, can we, Jocelyn, can we make motions tonight, or do we have to hold off on motions till a continued date?
It might be a good idea if we imagine we can make some tonight, because we're going to have to make one to continue.
Right.
And I would suggest that if there's anything else that involves, we could probably be best if we held off any motions until our next date, and then we can wrap things up on that date.
Okay.
The other benefit
Can
too
I
is
ask one question?
Sure.
Brett, are you planning to do this long term, or are you just looking for it for the, through the pandemic?
Well, my original goal, like I said, was to do it just, open catering. And then, if catering takes off again in a year or so from now, I don't have any interest in working 7 days a week and doing this the whole rest of my life out there. It's just kind of a, temporary means to an end. But, I added breakfast on, a couple of things on. I don't know if I'm going to keep that going or not. I'm just trying a couple of different things to see what people like and kind of playing the field a little bit, But my intentions were to open the window 7 days a week and work, 120 hours a week doing this. So, I'm just playing it by ear and see what happens. Who knows when it's going to come back to normal, if it ever comes back to normal at the point now, So, my other question too, would it change the dynamic if I open the door and just let people walk in and pick up their food as opposed to a take-up window? What's the difference on that? I'm trying to keep it as COVID friendly and compliable as possible by doing the window. I could have people walk in the front door if I wanted to and pick up their food.
I agree.
I'm not sure there'd be any difference.
All right. Based
I mean, this will-
upon,
my last comment was this will also give us, so just so Mr. Henry's clear that we need an application that has the square footage filled out on it, correct?
Right.
You just
Right.
need some kind of plan and part that shows the parking and the square footage of the interior of the building.
Okay,
Send it over to Kim and she'll send it to us.
all right. Because that hopefully you get that within a week, and then we have everything we need for next week.
I just want to be clear that our rules and regulations do not require an architectural plan for a use application. I've read them through several times. They do not seem to require that for a use application. They don't require a certified plot plan for a use application. Unless I'm wrong about that, but I think.
So then we shouldn't need these things.
But we need, so we can ask for any plan we want to, but
Oh.
we need to have some proof that he's under the 1,000 square feet. and
Oh,
that
okay.
Some kind of parking for his employees. That's what we're looking for.
All right.
Something to hang our head on.
Jocelyn, what do you think about just approving it now with like a sunset clause? So for a year, says it has to come back and we look at it in a year. Do you still have a concern with the notice issue?
I didn't have a big problem with the notice issue because of the fact that Robert, the webmaster, did email back saying had posted it properly. It was just a temporary glitch. But Dan Script wrote and said that, who town council wrote and responded and said that we'd be better off continuing the matter for a week so that we don't risk any objection turning into an appeal.
Well, I mean, there still could be objections, but
For Mr. Henry. or
yeah,
anybody.
there still could be objections, but that would be, we'd be opening the door for an objection.
Exactly. And why would we go to all this trouble and do that? Let's just do
And
it.
if we did it as a sunset clause, we still would have just as much vulnerability to an appeal, I guess, right?
Right.
It's just frustrating. This is like the second time that this has happened that we just, and who pointed it out? The town clerk pointed it out? Isn't that the person who posts it?
He's the one-
So fix it.
I guess what happened,
Yeah.
here's what I think happened, Max. The way I understand it is Diane Dunphy, the clerk, posted it to the website. Now, I used to post them when Peggy was the clerk, but now Diane Dunphy, she does the postings. So I give her the notice and she stamps it, then she sends it to the webmaster. And he said in his email that at some point between then and today, something happened with his hosting changed and therefore it wasn't available to people. And it must be available 48 hours before the hearing, and kind of according to the law. So we have to be careful. We don't know for sure if it was or wasn't. And so that's why Dan Script suggested we just continue the matter and we can schedule a hearing just via Zoom. It should be pretty quick. And we all
Right.
pick an afternoon, 5 o'clock, any day in the next week.
All right, hearing all that and hearing that there, as of right now, there is no opposition and there are people who spoke in favor. I'll move that we continue this meeting to Tuesday, the 24th. Is that correct?
Yep.
At 5 p.m.
5 o'clock.
Right. I'll second that.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay.
The only discussion would be that Mr. Henry provide us with the plans showing the square footage and the parking for the employees. Have that submitted to us before that.
And I don't even know that the parking is that important.
I'm not
Again,
sure it
the
is
fish-
either, but
The fish store had only 2 parking spaces.
right.
I think actually Mr. Viviano's on, I think he's the landlord for those, for some of those other businesses. How much parking does each one of those businesses have?
Yeah,
don't even know
I'm just saying, show us what
Right.
we have. We're not requiring things right now. We're just asking.
Right.
So,
It's a sketch. It shouldn't be that hard to show us where the parking is,
Right.
then we have a record of it. So if there's no discussion on the motion, I'm going to say, all in favor, and please give me a roll call.
Yeah, Peter Barber, aye.
David Walsh, aye.
David McCool, aye.
Aye.
Next,
And who are you?
Jocelyn Campbell, aye. Okay, so
Right.
that concludes our hearing for this evening. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, please.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the motion?
No.
All in favor, roll call, please.
Peter Barber, aye.
David Walsh, aye.
David McCool, aye.
Max Casper, aye.
Campbell, aye. Thanks, everybody. See you next Tuesday.
Thank you. See you next week.
All right, take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.